Thank you all, though, for joining us today. We're excited to share what we're thinking about for 2024, and we would also love to get your thoughts as well as we head into 2024. Some of you are brand new to Mazevo this year. Some of you have been on it for a while now, but we value all of your opinions, and that's the purpose of today's Mazévo Connect webinar. If you haven't been to a Mazévo Connect before, welcome. These are webinars that we do every single month here. And the way these typically work is there's usually some kind of a presentation, whether it's us or a Mazevo customer that's presenting on some topic. But there's always typically a lot of interaction. So everybody's muted right now, but we do encourage your interaction as we're going through things. Please just go ahead and put your questions in the chat, or if you think of great product ideas, which is today's topic, put those in the chat as well. We do read every single one of those, and we'll try to get to all of them here in the presentation here today. I am joined here by a few of my colleagues. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing, if you haven't met me before, but I'm joined by my colleagues, Wendy Newland, who's here with us. She's on our training department, and I've also got Claire DeGroat here, who helps me on the sales side. And then we've got Dean Evans, who's our CEO. So that's the Mazevo crew that is here today. Dean is going to be doing most of today's presentation, so I'll be turning it over to him in a minute. If you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. We always love seeing who all's attending these things. It's always great to see. As far as any news updates go for you, one thing that you will be seeing here next week, those of you that are Mazevo customers, we're going to be sending out an email to everybody that is a global administrator in Mazevo with some fun statistics on your events operation for your department. So things like how many events you did this year and some other relevant statistics. We just thought it'd be fun to share that with you. We just pulled some data out of your tenant, and we're going to send it to you so you can kind of see that. You know, I know not everybody has a chance to get in there and actually look at like, wow, what did we accomplish this year? So we wanted to put a fun little email together for you that kind of shares some of that information. So let us know what you think. Keep your eyes open for that next week. I'm kind of, you know, I'm hoping that it's something kind of fun that you could share with your boss and go, hey, look what we did this year, right? So anyways, stay tuned for that. That's coming up. But yeah, other than that, we're wrapping up a really good year here at Mazevo. Thank you all for your support over the year. It's been a really, really good year for us. We brought on a lot of new customers this year, which is always great to see. Several of you are on the call today, it looks like. So anyways, but with that said, we're going to be talking here about mainly about our roadmap here today. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dean. And the other thing we're going to do too, I'm going to sprinkle in throughout today's presentation. We haven't done this before, but I'm going to use some of these polls in Zoom to get your feedback on certain topics. So yeah, so those will be coming. I'm hoping these work better than that Zoom link that I sent out did. So anyways, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dean, and yeah, we'll get this thing going.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So throughout this, feel free to chat us up, take yourself off mute, but we want to kind of get some feedback from you on where we're going to go in 2024 with development and things that are kind of top of mind for us. So the first major area that we want to see if we can improve is customer education. So what I mean by that is, you know, as you have new users come to your operation, whether it's new requesters or new event planners and things like that, are you finding it hard to get them up to speed? Are there things we could do to bring them up to speed quicker? And I'll just throw out a couple of things. You know, clearly you can call us and we can help, you know, do one-on-one training, but are you aware that in our knowledge base, we have a bunch of online videos there? So if you go to our knowledge base by hitting that question mark, down here in the corner is training videos. So we have a ton of videos that we've put together for requesters and for event planners and things like that. So has anybody used those, looked at them? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in a chat, but so.
Yeah, we plan to do more of these. I've started I did a couple on billing this week. I did one on operations recently as well. And we just want to keep building this library up because I think it's pretty much endless how many videos you could make on different topics over time. So this is what we have here today. So yeah, Jenny says they've been helpful. Deb Martin says the same thing. So
Okay.
yeah, Casey didn't even know we had videos. So yeah, this is, we're
Okay.
trying to get the word out. So yeah.
Well, and that kind of segues into something that we found is, believe it or not, there's about 150 different pages. So a page to me is when I click add new event, that's a page. Even though you're going through what feels like a dialogue, they're all really one page in the way we code them. But find events is a page, the event book's a page, things like that. So we have about 150. And out of those pages, 4 or 5 are used the most, and the rest are rarely used. So we've tried to rationalize that. It's like, well, do people know about these other features? So we're trying to get you to notice that there might be some other features out there. So the 4 big ones that you see are add new event, find events, the event book, and then the event editor where you open an event and you make changes to it. So those are the ones that are used the most. But something like the activity log or attachments just barely even register. When you look at all of the pages and all of the people that have touched Mazevo, it's barely even used. And it's like, how could we encourage you to even click the button, right? And so I've kind of got this crazy thought that most people are afraid to click a button and experiment. And we've seen that over in the requesting. We've got this event book for requesters. And let me see here. Let me hit search. Most people don't even know that they could hit this plus and start adding an event for the J Moody room. So it's a quick way to say, oh, well, there's something here that's available. Let me go ahead and just start booking it right from here. So we have the ability to put in tips. And let me see if I can get my tip to come back up. It was there for a second. It's not gonna play. But what we can do is we can put little tips right here next to something. So that's the one that I had, was this analytics. And we can show you, when we do a product update, we can highlight things that we've updated or touched. And I think, let's see if I can get one of these to fire. There's these tips right here. And I think most everybody's seen these. And we try not to inundate you with those, but on those 4 big pages I was talking about, we have these tips that come up. They're just a quick tip. They show you something to try to explain it. Hopefully people are reading them. It doesn't really matter whether you hit X or got it. It goes away and you won't see that again. Now we only show a couple of those a day. I think it's 1 a day, maybe 2 a day. So does anybody have any feedback on those tips? Because we could sprinkle more tips in there if you think that would help. We can put tips in there that actually have videos that explain. If you wanted to see more detail on a tip like that, we could put a video in there and give you like a 1-minute video, 2-minute video on like, well, how would you run find events? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Feel free to unmute yourself. We can make this 2-way. So
Dana says we should keep them. So
how many a day would be too many? I'm afraid I mean, I can unleash it, and every time you go to another page, you get another tip, but I don't want to saturate you with those tips. I mean, would a couple of day be okay?
Is it possible to, I mean, obviously newer users, newer requesters are going to need more tips
Right.
than someone that's been using the system. And one package that we used back in the day, you could turn the tips off
Yep.
after a while, once you kind of got the hang of it.
Well, we could do something like this. If you go to find events and you've only been to find events less than a dozen times or less than 2 dozen times, we could show you the tips. But if you've been in there over a dozen times, we could say, well, we're not going to show you tips on find events. The problem with that is there's so much stuff you can do and find events. If you just came in here 12 times and stayed on this page, you might not know that, there's this other stuff here that you can do. So, but we can turn them off.
I don't mean you turning them off. The user has I had the option as a user to say, well, don't show me the tips anymore.
Yeah, we might be able to do that.
I'm just throwing it out there as
Yep.
something that had been done, but
Good
Okay.
idea.
I think the tips are helpful,
Okay.
especially for people that aren't,
Yeah.
that are new users, or especially if there's new stuff you guys have added,
Yep.
and pop those tips in there for all
Yep.
of us.
Yeah. Well, every time we do a new release, generally over here in the corner under recent updates, you're going to get an email the day we do a new release, and we also put this here. I could put a tip in the middle of the screen that says, hey, we updated a new release today. Click here to see a video. And I could show you a 1 or 2 minute video, or you could just click dismiss and it goes away. But just to kind of let you know, here's some of the things we fixed. I mean, I don't think you want to watch a 20-minute video. So these would be like really short, sweet, boom, and out of your hair. So
Couple of comments came through that people like the videos. Video idea is good. If we can embed videos in the tips, I think that would be good. I mean, the bottom line is we're going to be experimenting with this stuff to see kind of what works, what sticks, what kind of effect we can have with that. So I think you'll see some things with that over the next few months. So
okay.
Yeah. Dean, on that main menu, attachments. I clicked on attachments here at our office, and there's one of them in there that was something that was a test that Katie created 2 years ago. But we use attachments all the time, so I'm not sure what shows up in that main menu link compared to what we're putting it in, diagrams or form, whatever it is that we're attaching to stuff. So not to go down a rabbit hole. If there's a video for that, I'll go find it. But
okay, well, I'll answer your question. What are they? This is a library of documents that you may want to use over and over again as you're sending out confirmations. So if you don't use this, the way you would do it today is you'd go send a confirmation and you'd attach the document. Now you'd have to go find it on your desktop.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so that's the stuff that's already been saved to an attachment that we would reuse, because when we click on attachments, it's something we're uploading from a different file.
Yeah, but if you had a standard set of policies that you wanted to send to almost every new user or every new confirmation you send out, you could store it here, and then it's easily accessible on the confirmation as you send it out, rather than having to upload it.
Got it.
Every time. But yeah, we could, I mean, that's an example of, what is this attachment? We find that people are afraid to press buttons. And we've done a horrible job if there's a button in here that hurts something, right? We've done a bad job of programming if we don't stop you from doing something that's dangerous or something like that. So, but yeah, we could sprinkle things in. If you've come in here and you've never clicked on attachments, that might be something, that's sprinkled into the tips that say, hey, did you know you can do this with attachments? And just spark the Oh, well, that's what that is, right? Same thing for activity log and some of these other things that are on here. But we're just trying to get you. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. As I was going back to the beginning, there's only 4 pages that are used the most, but there's a lot of stuff in here, features and functions. And we're just trying to encourage you, hey, there's other stuff in there. And so that's where the tips may come in, or some videos and things like that. So, and we can do that differently for event planners and requesters. So just to kind of separate those. So,
And before we move on to the next one, this is kind of related to this topic, which is when you're moving to Mazevo from another system. So some of you have been on Mazevo for quite a while. So put your, go back down memory lane and think of the days when you were switching over to Mazevo. One of the things we're trying to do is, we want to make it as easy as possible for people to move to Mazevo if they're on some other system, right? So that's another focus for us as well. And I've actually got a poll here. I would love to get everybody's feedback. So let me launch our little poll here. Now on your screen, if you look at your Zoom screen, you should have a new poll. Go ahead and read the question there. But we want to know, what was the most difficult thing about migrating to Mazevo? And you can check, I think you can only check one on here. I didn't update this, so it says check all that apply. So just pick the top one and let us know what that is. There you go. See some results coming in here. I know you got to read through them all there. There's several to choose from. So excellent. Got 14 of you have answered so far. Okay, give it a few more seconds and then we'll.
like I'm on The Voice or something, trying to vote for my favorite artist. Or
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you to those of you that put an answer in there. If anybody's curious how people voted, here, let me see if I can share this with everybody. This is our new Zoom technology here. I'm learning as we go. So you can kind of see the biggest one was learning a new system, right? Anything we can do to help you learn the new system. And that's where, again, these kind of have some crossover with what Dean was talking about with the tips and the videos and, things like that we can do to just smooth that out for everybody. Number 2 is data migration. That's something too we were kind of thinking about there. But yeah, so anyways, thank you for giving us some feedback on that.
All right, the next big thing we want to kind of concentrate on is performance. I'm going to open this up. So unmute yourself to answer this. Do you find Mazevo fast or slow? And do you ever see the spinning wheel? And is it too much? Because again, we've seen it in demonstrations when we're showing the software to people, and we just have no idea whether you're seeing the spinning wheel out there. And do you think Mazevo's fast or slow? And so we'd love to get your feedback on that, because we can make it go faster. It's just, there's a balance there. To make it go faster, it costs more, but you've got to make it go fast enough that you can do your job and it's functional. So any thoughts on that? So feel free, if you're passionate about this, unmute and let us have it. So
Yeah.
but
and I launched a poll up there too, so you can give us a rating there. This is one thing on our side, we don't hear a whole lot from people unless it's bad, right? I mean, if you're like having a bad day and it's like, oh, Mazevo is, it sucks today, I cannot get anything done, we're going to hear about that. But outside of that, it's like, well, how is it really though? What's your day-to-day impression? Is it like, it's okay, it could be better, or no, it's pretty good? I mean, that's what we're trying to get our hands around with this here, because this is it's always something that's in the back of our minds anytime we're doing an update throughout the year, all of that. But it's just how much focus do we need to be applying to this specific area, and this just kind of helps us gauge that. So,
hey, Brian, I've got a quick question for you. As Casey Taylor from Southern Miss.
yeah.
All of our training on Mazevo has been just passed down from temporary employees, so we're not quite the masters yet. But the one thing that we've struggled with is using the email functionality within Mazevo itself. I don't know if that's something where it's on our end at the university or if it's within Mazevo, but the volume that we need to be able to send has not been supported yet. So we have to do all of our emailing exclusively outside of Mazevo. So I was curious, is that a experience of other users, or is that unique to us? And is it something perhaps internal here?
Yeah, well, that's a great question.
That's the first we've heard of that. So you're saying when you send a confirmation, it won't let you send?
Correct. We've actually identified a few guinea pigs that we could send test emails to, and not a one has ever been received. So we have to operate exclusively within Outlook to accomplish the job.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just
We can work with you on that. I mean, that's fixable. That's totally fixable. So,
Okay.
But we just to put it out there, we haven't heard anybody say that. But if something like this, anything like this is happening to anybody on this call, I mean, please pick up the phone or send us an email and say, it's not working. Why can't I do XYZ? I mean, because we expect you to be able to hit emails. We send about 200,000 emails out of Mazevo every month. I mean, if you were to accumulate the volume, so it's a lot that's going out. But the fact that you can't send any out is, I mean, we need to dig into that and see what's going on. I mean, it could be on your end, it could be on our end.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it could be firewall issues here.
Yeah.
Uncertain, but we've played around with it some, and this would be fantastic if we could use it. We ourselves do several thousand emails a month, Mazevo related, so it'd be super helpful for us.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yep. So I'm just sharing the results of everybody, and overall, I mean, it looks pretty good. I think there's a couple there that we could definitely do a better job on, and it may be worth digging in there and finding out what's going on. But yeah, thank you for this feedback on that.
Okay. All right, that's great to know. One of the things we could do to increase performance, but you'll see this in a lot of SaaS applications, cloud applications that are out there, is that when you go to run a report, if it's a long date range, and I'm thinking like analytics, things like that. If it's a big date range that you're trying to do, let's say a year or 2 years, some of the other cloud applications will grab that and say, hey, we'll send you an email when that report's done. But for the most part, we've kind of shied away from that. But if somebody's running a 5-year report on analytics, that's going to slow down your other users in your system. But I just don't see you. It's not that much. I see a lot of people run find events for a long time. I don't remember their name, and I wouldn't. Well, I would throw them under the bus here, but somebody ran this for 7,000 days. The date range. So we know every time you run this, we record it and we tell you, we record how many days you ran in your date range just for, giggles. And somebody ran it for 7,000 days. And I'm like, what were they trying to do that they needed to run it for that, 20-year period? And the only thing I could think of is they accidentally keyed in a wrong date and they were trying to find their event. Right. But, so anyway, any thoughts on that? I mean, if you were to run analytics for let's say a 5-year period, would you be offended if we grabbed that and said, hey, we'll shoot you an email and give you a link to that report when it's done? Would that, I mean, it'd have to be kind of big. I mean, I just, nobody's running the daily operations for a year, the event list for a year, things like that. So any feedback there would be great before we move on. So
I have been pulling things a couple years back to help our catering go through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And just to kind of like pick peak times of that we're gonna see more, predict busier times and things. So to get an email later, no, or I know that I've set up some reports to just automatically run an email upon completion, and
Yeah.
I do like to have that ability.
okay. Well, we're not going to change anything yet, but that's an option because running reports can slow the system down, but they're so small. 99% of them are so small, it doesn't affect anything. So it's like, are we going to get much bang for our buck out of that? So of the people, there were a couple folks, no, you can stay on mute or anything, but there were a couple that really rated it slow. They put 2s in there. Is there any particular area, or is it just everything that's really slow? Before we move on to our next topic, if you could share, that would be great. If you don't want to share, if you could send us an email and respond to that, that would be great. Because I mean, clearly we want it to be better than a 2.
I have had some issues recently with, it seems like it's been in the past 6 months where we'll be in a meeting about our events and we'll all have the same issues. Like we'll have the wireless is fine, but we'll get this, we call it the spinning wheel of death. And it'll just be like,
Yep.
we're on today's date and it won't be like we're doing anything else.
Okay. Jen, who are you with?
University of Southern Mississippi, sorry.
Okay. Got it. So you're down there with Casey.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. Okay, no, that helps. But again, in when we're doing presentations to people, we'll see it in some of the weirdest places, like opening an event with 3 bookings on it, and we'll get the spinning wheel of death, and we call it the same thing here, the whirling dervish. So anyway, that's why we're asking, because we want to make sure that it runs fast enough for you. So. All right, the next thing, now this would be another area. So we got a lot of usage of people using the request functions. And there's one specific area in here that we'd love some feedback on. And that's for self-service. So you'd see this in a library or study rooms where there's no approval process needed, okay? And so you can set up your security policy to allow some rooms to be just booked in a confirmed status so that you don't have to look at them and approve them, right? Again, that'd be, self-study, study rooms, self-service things. So this is the way you could do it right now. And this is the middle of this year, we put this little plus in here so that you can add it from here. What we found a lot of people doing is these requesters, when you're doing self-service and you're just booking a study room, you're probably walked over to the library, you're the student, you've walked over to the library and you're like, where can I sit down and study, right? And so to go through this request process seems like a lot of clicks to find a space. So that's where we've improved this event book quite a bit to show people. And we've got a couple tips that come up, that would show you, hey, if you haven't run the event book, but you've been in add new request, you might look over here. But I want to share, we've got an idea, and we've seen this in a couple of folks that we've talked to, about a quicker way to even make an event for those study spaces. And so let me see if I can share. I probably ought to open it first before I try to share it. Let me pull this over here. So. See if I can make my Zoom work here. So this is, are you seeing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, this is a really, really crude mock-up of what we would do for a requester looking for self-service space, non-approved space, right? So they're probably not booking too far into the future, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Again, we think of these as students that have walked into the library or the business school, and they're like, hey, I just need a room. And so you typically have rules in there about, well, how many hours a day can they book the room? What's the maximum? So there's some quota stuff that goes on. But our vision would be somewhere on the top of the screen. This would be a new tool to add a new request. Top of the screen, you might have the building filter up here so that you could get to the building you want. But we're going to start with today. And then we would, in my example here, I've got 2-hour blocks of time because my maximum time block is 2 hours. But we're going to show you the blocks of time that you can reserve room 100 for the 2-hour period of time. And our idea would be you could change that duration. And maybe we don't need to change it. Maybe we just make it 30 minutes and you could pick multiple blocks. But the idea would be, we know who you are. You've logged into Mazevo. You might be on your phone. You go to, QuickBook, and you come to this and you go click, and you click on that block and it books the room. Doesn't ask you any questions. It just books the room and it confirms status. And we're just trying to think, well, would that be something, if you're doing self-service, study space, would that be a useful, I suppose we could even do this for request space, right? But the difference here is we're showing you blocks of time that you can have. And we'd only show you the rooms that have any availability, so that we just quickly get to what you're looking for. It could be your normal space. And again, if we ask your duration, well, I need a room for 2 hours. Well, then it would show you the 2-hour blocks on all of the space. You could click on this. It really doesn't matter. We could ask you, well, do you need any services, and ask you the questions at the end. So any thoughts on kind of twisting the process around like that?
Some positive feedback coming back in the chat, so that's
right.
good. Kelly was asking about maybe locking it down to the current day only, not letting them book into the future, right? Just hey, show me today only. And so yeah, that could be a rule, right? So this hasn't been designed yet, but this is the direction we're thinking of going, just to continue to just try and streamline it. Because the thing we hear over and over again is, like, for the requesters, they just want that quick, easy experience, right? They want to go just get in, get out, what's available, and move on. And so I think this type of view helps that. So
I don't know whether you have a poll on that, Brian.
not on that one.
Okay.
But yeah, so, and yeah, Jason mentioned maybe allow people to do a week at a time. I don't know if you mean by that, Jason, like book an entire week, or show them like an entire week at a
Show
time?
them the week.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that way,
Yeah.
if they come in on a Monday and it's booked all day Monday, they can pick a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Sure.
I guess I'd say on those study rooms, Jason, do you really think these students are planning that far ahead? I mean, the answer could be yes, but it just seems to me that a student can't think more than 15 minutes in advance. I mean,
Well, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
okay. I just know my kid, from my experience, doesn't even know what time it is. So, okay, yeah, we could certainly do that. I mean, you could also just click the next day if you don't see the room, and we'd show you the, you know, these blocks for the next day. But yeah, if we opened it up to you know, to all the spaces, then yeah, you might want to see more of that, you know, a bigger
Yeah,
date range.
From our perspective, I mean, we have dozens of spaces, so we would probably only identify 2 or 3
Yeah.
that are available for this level of self-service, but it would be, I think, exceedingly helpful, and I think folks would use it.
Yeah.
I agree, having a week snapshot at a time to be able to, you know, book those 90-minute to 2-hour windows would be helpful. So thanks for considering this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me go ahead and go back to sharing just my space here. So that's great. We're looking at that because we've run into some people that are big into the self-service stuff, you know, some library applications that use it, you know, they're using Mazevo in the library, and it's all pretty much self-service space, you know. And so you've seen probably in our enhancements, there's been we've enhanced the quotas. So how many hours a day can you book, or a week, or in a month? Again, that's kind of tailored around that self-service. So they'll put some quotas on that so you don't get the room hog, you know. Otherwise, if you had 30 rooms, you'd only be able to service the 30 students that hog the space. So a question about the event book. So now this is the book that the requester sees. So this next kind of area we're looking at is how can we improve the request process and the approval process. But I'm going to start with the book here. Everybody knows and loves the book. And I argue with our other Mazevo staff members. It's like, well, if I'm a brand new user, I'm a student, and you've given me privileges to request space, is it obvious that you gotta take your, because everybody here on this call uses this book, but is it obvious that conference room 2 is in use from this time, or is that it's available at that time? And so I'm just wondering, what if we just, instead of, you know, because we don't show you the name here, what if we just say in use, so that it's obvious it's being used? Because right now there's nothing here to a brand new student that tells them, well, what does this bar mean? You see what I'm saying? I mean, we just assume everybody here's been on EMS or been using a book, and they know that that's in use, but not your students that have never made a request before, right? So anyway, just kind of looking at it, just kind of a different lens of that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's several are rolling in saying that having some words on there would help.
Yeah.
Other things like not available. I think some people like the words not available rather than in use.
Okay.
But something, right? You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty stark, and it's just like, how do you know what's going on there? So,
yeah.
The next thing we want to kind of talk about is this whole request approval process. And so let me kind of ground you on that, and kind of our tool for that is this data glance requests. So this is going to stack up all of the requests that you need to process. So your requesters have put them in, and here's the whole list. And so is there anything we can do to improve how you do the intake of these requests and move it through the process? I
Now,
won't name.
Well,
ahead.
I was gonna say, this is one I do have a poll for,
Okay.
and I'm gonna launch this because we really, we want to understand how many of these pending requests are stacking up for you right now. I think some of you, it's in the hundreds. Like, if you go into your day at a glance, we've seen that anyways. Maybe that's the exception, and that's the part we're trying to understand is like if you open up your day at a glance right now and go to this screen that Dean's on, how many are sitting in there currently in this pending state? So just go ahead and pick the answer that's right for you there.
Yeah. But as you're answering that, I mean, this whole requesting process and managing these, I mean, a ton of people use this feature in Mazevo, because you're offloading the data entry back to your requester. They get to see it, and everybody's on demand now. If I want an Uber, I can see where it is on the street. So that's kind of how can we move it through the process? Now we know we can't go too fast, because if you're waiting on Officer Bob to look at the event and approve it, from a campus safety standpoint, it's not like you can go over there and get the cattle prod out and say, Officer Bob, can you go a little faster? There's other things they're doing. So if there are other ways, that we could improve and streamline and make a request go through quickly. I guess just kind of ad-libbing here, we've heard some people say, well, we'll get back to you in 7 days. Well, in this day and age, 7 days is a lifetime. I mean, it just like, why would it take more than a day to approve it, or 2 days to approve it? Why would it take a week or more? So are there things we could do to make it go faster? So feel free to unmute yourself, but
Ours tend to stack up just because our users, when they do a request, they'll do a series individually.
oops.
So it's it's a training thing on our side. It's like, no, you need to throw all of those on the same reservation. And
Okay.
that's why ours end up stacking up. But we're the only ones who go through the request. So we don't have it going,
You don't have a
to
big
Officer
proof.
Bob or anybody like that.
Okay.
So I have
Okay.
no thoughts there.
Okay.
And
Are
then
you
for
able
us-
to able to grab those and move those bookings to the one event to kind
We
of reduce?
do that, yeah, but it takes time.
Yeah.
We'll end up kind of putting them all in the same reservation together for them. Or if we're feeling particularly feisty, we'll deny them all and then send them an email and say, try again, and put them all together. So
Yeah, like that. That's my thing. Deny them. So, all right. I mean, some things that we're looking at doing to this day at a glance would be, some people that are heavy into the use of statuses as their workflow. They may see, we think people are going to have one request status, but as you're going through the process, you may change the status of that booking, or, the event from, a request to waiting for information. I mean, you can use the change status just like you used to in EMS. So what we're thinking is, well, we're going to put a filter up here so that you could filter them by that status. So if you're using more than one status for the requesting process, as you're moving it through before you finally confirm it, that you could filter this list by status. One person we saw had 350 requests out here, but some of them weren't for next year, right? Or 2 years out. So we were thinking, well, do we put a button here that just says, show me things that are in the next 30 or 60 days, or show me all, right? We don't want to hide them, but just something to get you focused on the stuff that's either come in the last few days or is in the next few days when it's going to occur. So just some filtering. So any feedback, throw that in the
Yeah,
in
there's
there.
lots of good comments out there on this.
Okay.
And I think people do like the filtering capability. There's it seems like there's various reasons why an event cannot be approved
Yep.
right away, and it has to wait for many weeks sometimes. So being able to get those out of the way in some way, right, it sounds like would be helpful for people. Having an event coordinator column in there was mentioned.
Yeah. The problem with the event coordinator, I'll just say this right now, if this CNR event came in from a requester, it hasn't been assigned to an event coordinator. But if you've clicked on it and you're working it and you've assigned the event coordinator, then it makes sense, right? But we could do that. We can put an event coordinator in here somewhere if you've assigned it and you're leaving it in this queue, if you will. My fear is if we start hiding things, we're going to leave things, something's going to fall through the cracks. So we got to make it kind of easy to see everything and then filter it down, because you just don't want things to just, oh, well, what happened to my event? Oh, well, you put it in 6 months ago and we just forgot to do it. You know, you don't want that to happen. So some other things we're looking at currently, I don't know how many people use tasks, or in EMS it was called reminders. Currently, you can only kind of tie those to the event or to a booking. And if you didn't know it, you could tie it to an organization. But we're also thinking, well, what if you could tie it to the primary contact on the event? And, you know, it would be something you want the primary contact to do. It's a task that they need to perform. You need to get me your contract. You need to get me your certificate of insurance, your final catering count. There's something you want to nag the customer about. Could we start assigning tasks, things that you need to gather, data you need to get from the customer? Could we use tasks to assign to them and then nag them, hey, you know, gently, hey, you know, you need to get your final catering counts in. Instead of having somebody, you know, from the event planning staff reach out, hey, what are your counts? Could we send them an email? Hey, you need to get your counts in. Now, the problem with that is, what if they don't perform the task? What's the repercussions? And it's probably, well, you're going to have to pick up the phone and call or mark it as completed. But the idea would be you need something from them, you put the task in, and then we kind of take it from there and gently remind them until they do it. And so any thoughts on that?
For those catering type count things, our catering office does use the automated emails.
Yep.
And attaches those to the event. And I think most of them, depending on, like, if it's I think they're automatically added depending on the type of event. So I don't know if I don't think they do them manually. I think they
those scheduled
added,
emails
and
that I think
works great.
Yeah, they're triggered on, hey, is there catering? And it just automatically starts jamming those things out. So yeah, the tasks work the same way. It's just be, well, should we make somebody on the outside responsible for performing the task is kind of all it was. So another thing we've heard is, and Christy, one of these came from your group. If you're sending a confirmation, and again, it kind of relates to this task, if you're sending a confirmation to your customer, it was Jonna, she wanted to be able to say, oh, have you read the confirmation? If they clicked on it, is some kind of positive thing that they've looked at it and they agree with the charges on the confirmation. I think it was around charges and the billing or something like that, but it could be expanded to, have you read our policies? You know, things like that, things that you want the customer to click a button. I understand the policies. I understand the total charges and I'll be responsible. Would that be something that would be useful to kind of design into Mazevo to kind of automatically start gathering that, so that you have, you know, kind of a checkbox? You know, I can, you know, I've read the terms and, you know, conditions of this, or something to that effect. So, I mean, you see that on bank sites, and, you know, I agree. And so but we
Yeah,
could,
lots of positive feedback on that.
okay.
So, mhm.
So we're getting close to the end, and we're going to tease you with one last thing here. So Brian, I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Let me pull up my screen. So we've rolled out a new option for people that really want to have a more, let's just say, kind of customized view of their Mazevo system. So let me bring mine up here. So let me share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. So check out what we did here. This is the ability to change the color and remove the Mazevo logo from the app and put your own up there. Now, this is a fake college. I actually went out and Googled for fake colleges and found a logo that somebody created. So that was helpful. And, you know, we allow you then to match the color of Mazevo, and it doesn't matter then what screen you go to, right? They're all going to be that same color. So see how it's kind of, you know, coming in with the color that way. So this is something you do. Now, we are going to charge for this because essentially you're removing the Mazevo branding completely, right? You're kind of, it's now like we call it white label software, right? You're just putting your own institution's logo up there, and that's all people are going to see. So it kind of becomes your own branded app. We did this mainly for the requesters, right? So when they're making a request there, they know this is, you know, your institution's, you know, app there, but all the Mazevo branding's taken away. So anyways, we're just teasing you with that. We wanted to show you this is coming. It's not released yet, but if anybody's interested in that, definitely reach out to us. We can get you some pricing and things like that. But anyways, this is coming here soon. The other thing too, I wanted to mention before we end here today is that we really appreciate everybody helping us out this year, and we appreciate your business and your feedback and all of that. One thing that would help us a lot is if you could share, if you think Mazevo's been great to you and it's a great product and things like that, word of mouth is huge for us. That's always super important. I want to drop a link in the chat here there's a software review site out there that we use, where if you're so inclined and we would love it if you would leave us a review of Mazevo on this site, because it does get a lot of traffic and people see it and things like that. So let me grab the link here. I've got it and I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you wouldn't mind just going to this link and leaving us a review, we would really, really love it. So let's see here. There it is. Okay. So there, I just put the link in there. You can just click that and it goes to our product page on this G2 review site there. But anyways, Dean, did you have anything else?
We got through most everything. There's a couple other things on the list, but they're tiny. So I think I'm done. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for sharing feedback with us today. This has been super helpful. You all were very responsive on that, which we appreciate. And yeah, and we are excited about 2024 rolling up. Thank you all for everything. And if anybody needs anything afterwards, please reach out to us. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.